Alright, so hello, so see how my name is William. Alright, guys. Well, someone showed me this. Now, I told this guy to go away and leave me alone, and he won't, so I just blocked him anyway. So. But anyway, I want to show you something here. So, yeah, it says right here, California is no a street taco, and there's the Wichita taco, and it says we're not a street taco, just fake news. Californians know fake news. Well, first of all, I know Chad Bianco was from Utah, and he moved to California. I think, well, I'm not sure when he moved to California. I think he moved to California somewhere in there around 1990s or something like that. And then also, as for Steve Hilton, he moved to California in 2012. So, I know he's from the UK, but for him not knowing what a street taco is, it's not gonna worry about me all that much anyway. Yeah, but I know I agree with Chad Bianco that these are street tacos and this one isn't. So, yeah, I forgive Steve Hilton for lying about street tacos, but you know, it's just another. But they're just food anyway. Plus, Steve Hilton can learn what a real street taco is from these anyway. So. Yeah, so Del Taco or Taco Bell are not street tacos, are just these. These are real street tacos right here. But, let me tell you something, alright? Now, Steve Hilton's not the only person that's lying about street tacos. I'll tell you who is also lying about street tacos. Well, what about the Democrat? Xavier Becerra. Yes, that guy. He's also lying about street tacos. I don't like this. I know I'm not a bot. I'm a human. Let's read about that, okay? So Alright, so let's read about this on KTEL A5. And then I'll talk about stopping text hikes after that, which is Prop 43. I'll get to that one, and then I'll read about these after that, okay? So let's get into that one, okay? So, I want to get into why, because we already know about Steve Hilton lying about street tacos, but he's not the only one. Because, well, why? Because Xavier Becerra also lied about street tacos. Okay? So let's read it. So let's read this. Tacos resurface as an issue on California governor's race. So another taco diversity erupted in California governor race. Frontrunner Xavier Becerra now street vendors over comments about street vendors. Back in May, before advancing to the general election about primary field, Republican Steve Hilton posted on video on social media that he achieved revert a hard-shell taco from the original Del Taco and Barstow as a street taco. Yeah, that's him lying about that, yeah. And then he was quickly criticized by a lack of taco knowledge. Street tacos are typically sold by street vendors, and many of the brick-and-mortar restaurants support softcore tacos under the same name. Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, I know Chad Bianco was showing about that. That's why. But don't worry, I still forgive him for lying about them, because you can learn what the real street taco is anyway. Now, let's see this. Fast forward to July 2020. So fast forward on July 21st. So fast on July 21st. While speaking at a conference that Latino business leaders, Becerra revisit opponent's calf on the magnet. Yeah, here's what he said in the comment. Yeah. There's real food in California, and there are real street tacos, and you don't get them in some establishment that has been around for a long time. He said, you get it from the street, from the guy who has been making it for a long time in his little cart. See? Stupid. You know? So he's also, so yeah, Xavier Becerra, that stupid Democrat, he's also lying about street tacos. So you got two candidates. Well, yeah, you got both candidates lying about street tacos. Becerra posted his remarks on social media as well as accusing a former California Attorney General for signing on the street vendors and break on mortar restaurants. A more comments on response. Don't buy from the restaurants. This is a great message on the business and Instagram. Now, do you know there's Mexican restaurants, right? How about you support own business for payment in taxes? Thank you that you hate business owners who follow California's laws. Monterey County Republican Party. Yeah. Who needs to listen, and they say, if elected, Xavier cares more about street vendors than break more business on actual tax, actually pay taxes. We're also candidate on Assembly District 73. Buy the permitted cart and the taqueria. Don't go to the places that have been around. Employees have been paying paying local and state taxes. Okay, and there's in comments importantly. So don't you see wrong when he said there are great tacos, but they're better for the street vendor when it is to get over the people. Del Taco and Taco Bell ain't nothing authentic, or ain't got nothing on our authentic street tacos. So that's on KTL. Okay, so KTLA.com. On KTLA 5. You can read about this anyway. Anyway, so that's it. That's what I get into anyway. So yeah. You can also read about. You can also hear about right here. So I'm just not going to put the video because I don't want to get a copyright from YouTube. That's why. All right. So now we talk about Prop 43 here. It's called Stop Tax Hikes. All right. Let's read all about all these propositions over here. I'll read about folder about Prop 39, which is folder ID anyway. We have to vote yes on Prop 39. So yeah. So this one is Prop 43. on stop tax hikes. Let's read about this. So California faces on a living crisis, but politicians are trying to raise your taxes. Join California's campaign and stop costly from unfair tax hikes in the 2026 election. Reform California is needing a statewide campaign to defeat all tax hikes in the November 2026 ballot. While passing 3 state ballot measures to make it harder for the state, local politicians to increase taxes from going forward. Yeah. So Californians are forced to pay the highest taxes in the nation, while literally seeing millions of working families flee and cost out of our state. Enough's enough, says California State Representative Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California. So yes, on Props 41, 42, and 43, then the taxpayer protection tool. So let's read about this. So yes, on Prop 41, all your special taxes. Let's read about that first. So Prop 41 would make it harder for the state and local politicians to impose special taxes for you. Prop 41 requires special taxes, includes audits and revenues programs funded through the tax and prevent waste, fraud, abuse, and politicians. Prop 41 requires that these special taxes adhere to its constitutionally mandated spending limit. Now, yes, on Prop 42, stop savings tax. Okay, let's get to that one. So Prop 42 would prohibit the state of local politicians imposing savings tax on Californians. Prop 42 will prohibit politicians from taxing and value of your savings. Check on form 41,000 stock portfolio and the quality of your home. You already have pay highest taxes on income, sales, property, gases, and our cars. We don't need a savings tax on top of all that. Now we need this. Yes, on Prop 43, stop tax hikes. Okay. Prop 43 is known as SAVE Prop 13, Local Taxpayer Initiative. Prop 43 makes it harder for local politicians to raise their taxes and is storing on in any local tax measures. It also causes loopholes of politicians that have created Prop 13 to violate the property estate caps that voters already imposed. Now, so we are thinking that we need to there's some people that believe. Now, there's some Democrats that believe that Prop 13 needs to get repealed. The problem is that voting no on Prop 43, it's not gonna repeal Prop 13. Okay. Yeah. I got some stuff already. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. I believe that repealing Prop 13 is going to take another proposition anyway. So, to me, I support saving Prop 13. I don't know why you guys don't anyway, and I don't know why do you think that Prop 13 needs to get repealed? Anyway, can you please let me know in the comments below about that anyway? Anyway, let's look at tax hikes we must defeat, though. So no on Prop 3. This will raise income taxes. So California has already have the highest income tax in the nation, and Prop 3 would make those high rates permanent and impose multi-billion struggling taxpayers. If Prop 3 passes, it will backfire by costing our state jobs, reducing revenue, and into the state budget of high-income residents flee the state. Oh wow, okay. Now we're getting to Prop 40, which is already talked about anyway, the billionaire's tax, but it's also known as the wealth tax, so that's why. And I already talked about the federal version as well. We also got the federal version already. Yeah, called the Millionaire Tax Act, and then Gavin Newsom has asked for a federal billionaire tax. So you might get another federal billionaire tax bill because of Gavin Newsom anyway, but we'll see. Anyway, so let's read about Prop 40 again, though, just in case you missed it anyway. So Prop 40 is definitely being sold as the billionaire's tax, and it is really the everybody's tax. Worse. Prop 40 creates the first in the nation wealth tax, or savings tax for Californians. Prop 40 allows government to tax the value of your savings, checkings account, 401,000 stock portfolio, and current inequality in your home. If you don't have the cash to pay the wealth tax, then you'll be forced to sell of what you own. Prop 40 contains a provision allowing state politicians to expand the wealth tax to everyone without another vote of the public. Yeah, I already talked about that proposition, but that's fine anyway. Now let's read about this one. No on local tax hike measures. In addition, on the statewide tax hike ballot measures, Reform California has identified term 50 local tax hikes on November 2026 ballot. Our mission is to defeat all of them. To find out the tax hikes are on your ballot, check out your Reform California voter guide for your county here. Yeah, I didn't even click on that one. It'll be right here. The one I would be clicking on is this one here, because I live in San Bernardino County. That's why. You have to click on through the guide, and yeah, right here. So that's why. There it is. So here's my county that I live in, San Bernardino County. Right? So Prop 1, we vote no on the housing projects. right? Prop 2, you vote no on state budget spending limit and cancel tax rebates. Prop 3, we vote no on income tax increase. Prop 4, we need to vote no and give your tax dollars on politicians' campaigns, right? On Prop 5, we need to vote no on weakened citizens, the right to call politicians from office. And Prop 37, vote no on Prop 37, that's why. It will borrow $25 billion for costly housing projects, that's why. We need to vote yes on Prop 38. It will public-private partnership on bonds and methodology research, alright. And we need to vote yes on Prop 39. It's full ready to improve trust in elections. And I mean the state elections for California anyway. Now Prop 40, we need to vote no on that. It's billionaire tax. It says billionaire tax, and that is really everybody's. That is really everybody tax. Okay, so Prop 41, it says yes, all yet special taxes. Now Prop 42, you have to vote yes on that, stop savings tax. Now Prop 43, you have to vote yes on that, it will stop tax hikes, and also local payer protection initiative, which will save Prop 13. And then Prop 44, now Prop 44, that we need to vote no on that one. It opposes costly mandates in community on health crisis. Now Prop 45, you have to vote yes on that one. It will reduce housing costs by cutting the red tape. So that's all the ballot measures anyway. I'm going to save this. Yeah, and I do support Carl DeMaio, the Republican representative that's in San Diego. Well, in the state of in San Diego County anyway. Yeah, that's why. And right here, let's read about this. So outlines campaign to state Prop 13, property of tax stop property tax hikes. This was in 2000. This was on April 22nd, 2020. Let's read about this. So politicians in Sacramento have launched to sought to appeal Prop 13 and rise taxes this November. Oh, so they were okay. So government is assistance to save Prop 13. Or going to state of protect Prop 13 and give instructions of supporters who can join efforts in the areas. Alright, so we need to learn what Prop 13 was, okay? Here it is right here, Prop 43. It is known as Stop Tax Hikes. Yeah, for local special tax initiatives. you can read about this right here. About Prop 43, it's right here anyway. But then let's read about this one. So measure to save Prop 13 and protect taxpayers. In 1978, Proposition 13 property taxes and taxable value cap increases present this year, and instead of only a few construction in exchange ownership after residents of Sacramento, while Californians were taxed in their homes. However, author of Prop 13, ordinations and namesake, has added provisions of spenders have new ways the same amount of money of taxpayers. So Prop 13 requires 2/3 of the vote of both houses to see this year for new state taxes. But also, it says that 2/3 of the vote is also needed for special taxes. But like Howard Jarvis feared, as it's been of interest of sort of destroy Prop 13, and since the recently of the carve of this the texture of its way is governed agencies of its revenue. In 2017, the California Supreme Court decision, California Campus Coalition for the City of Upland created immunity. It suggested if a tax increase placed on the such initiative, backing in such interest of the government, the state constitution, including Proposition 13, may not apply. That's been where businesses could be last year, but the Taxpayer Protection Act on the ballot. For more than many signatures were collected, but then the governor suggested they should take off the ballot, and the California Supreme Court declared the TPA revision constitution is removed and measured before voters could pass it. We didn't take that line down. Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association built a new initiative this year called the Local Taxpayer Protection Act to save Prop 13. This conditional tax amendment will restore Prop 13's requirement on local special taxes on its delegate on revenue, especially revenue, most improved 2/3 voters to pass no exceptions and no loopholes. The Local Tax Protection Act to save Prop 13 makes it clear that local taxes and special revenue on 2/3 of vote passing, even if from decision's initiative back on special interest. New real estate transfer taxes of sale taxes of real estate permitted except a modest 0.11% documentary of transfer tax allowed prior for Proposition 13. Next, city of state and transfer taxes, the share of the state of the Los Angeles are repealed effective on December 31st, 2028. Except for 0.11% documentary transfer tax allowed prior to Proposition 13. But I don't know what you're asking. The top says the same people are a taxpayer protection of the ballot too. Although they disagree that California Supreme Court's reasoning. Okay, we have taken justices a creative initiative as consistent of the new rules as written of our own decision. Here's what's different. First, the measure is amended of the single section of the Constitution of previous effect. The court argued that we tried to do too much, and that's why it was just an amendment, but a revision of the Constitution. Signature only closes the loopholes in Proposition 13, a previous initiative closed loopholes in Proposition 13, and the granting of new taxpayer protections. The court took issue on some of these new protections, but not closing any loophole. Third, it will measure deals on taxes on the event of the property of the property ownership of the property of the related special tax, including sales taxes passed under the Upland loophole. It does not deal with all kinds of taxes and our fees. The court took issue with previous initiative because it applied to all taxes and fees. Like I said, I disagree with their decision. We have written the Local Tax Protection Act to save Prop 13 to stay within the boundaries the court has set. We are nearly 50-year war over whether it would be easier to raise our taxes or not. We should not be easier to raise our taxes if we agree with us. Please visit saveprop13.com and sign a petition to help us on Local Taxpayer Protection Act To save Proposition 13, voters can print initial petition at home and sheet of this education a form petition of the them. Either way, Californians will have the power of their own control taxation. Resident of our Travis Extra Association. That's okay. Jarvis, the president of Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. Okay, yeah. So that's it. So that's Prop 43, the proposition that will protect Prop 13. You know, that's fine anyway. So I guess I'll have to vote yes on Prop 43, and that's fine. And I believe you should vote yes on Prop 43 as well. I believe protecting Prop 13 would be a good idea. Or, yeah, also known as saving it, that's why. But we need to learn about here, because sometimes you have to learn some here. Does Steve Hilton have real world experience about running an office? Well, I believe he does. Let's see. So did Steve have an office with the prime minister in the UK? Well, yes. Oh, here, yes. Steve Hilton served as Director of Strategy for the UK Prime Minister David Cameron from 2010 to 2012. He was instrumental in organizing the Conservative Party message, developing key policies as a big society agenda before leaving the government to move to California. And then, yeah, Stephen worked office advisor to UK for Mr. David Cameron. So we're all going down Downing Street. So Director of Strategy, he served as the Director of Strategy for Prime Minister David Cameron from 2010 to 2012. Now, my image, credit guy, okay, credit of helping design the Communist Party message, appear going to the 2010 election, and communication style. The known is resurgent of working in 10 Downing Street of T-shirts and socks. Departure. He left his government position, and in March 2012, he moved to the United States. Yeah, I know he moved to California. So he was a director of strategy. So yeah, he was a director of strategy. An office for Prime Minister for David Cameron. That's why. So he served as a director of strategy. It was for Prime Minister David Cameron from 2010 to 2012. So yeah, did Steve Hilton have worldwide experience? So does Steve Hilton have world experience? Well, yes. If he served as the director of strategy from 2010 to 2012, to me, I think that is experience, and that is experience enough for me. I believe that's proof enough for me to have worldwide experience. He served that because that's 2 years of experience anyway. Of having worldwide experience anyway in office. So he just wasn't leader of office, you know. But if he does become governor, yeah, he will be leading office. That's why. Anyway, so. So you got this one. All right. So you can help on you can look at other campaigns for on reform.com on reformconvoy.com, and also look at the news right here from reformconvoy.com. That's made by Carl DeMaio from Reform California. That's why. And if you want to find, I know I know the kid, and it is true the kid's like that's past the house, but the fight isn't over. No. Well, the best thing you can do is to call your local representatives to tell them to vote no on these bad bills right here. And yes, I know if they became law, then you have to ask for a repeal. Anyway, just saying anyways. So right here, batteryandbills.com. Let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Okay, so you can watch my How to Go Heaven video on Rumble or BitChute anyways. And you have to go rights now, but that's what I talk about anyway. Just talk about stopping tax hikes, and which will and it will, and it's a proposition that will be ending some protections to Prop 13 in order to save it anyway. And you have to go rights now, but thank you for watching this video. Okay, so alright, so anyway, I have to go rights now. I'll talk about I might have to talk about something else next video because I have to go rights now. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Say goodbye. Adios. Zaijian.